All right, good evening, everybody. We'll call to order the August 27th meeting of the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission meeting. I'll start with a roll call. Marcia Allen. Okay, she appears to be absent. Jimmy Franks. Jimmy, you're muted, but I saw you say here. Roger Lindsay. Emma McLemore. She's not here tonight. Michael Orr. Ann Peterson.
Here.
Gina Salaji.
Here.
And the chair is here. All right, item number 1 is consideration resolution 2020-150, a resolution declaring that the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission shall meet on August 27th, 2020, and conduct its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of the members physically present in the same location, because it's necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move.
Jimmy. And second was?
Jenny.
Jenny, thank you. All right, roll call vote. Then Marcia Allen is still absent, I believe. Jimmy Franks.
Here.
Roger Lindsay.
Aye.
Alan McLemore is still absent. Michael Orr. Michael, you still there?
Yep, still here.
Okay. How do you vote on that one?
Present.
Okay.
Here, yeah, aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Peterson.
Aye.
Ms. Salaji.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. The Franklin Municipal Planning Commission meeting will limit physical access in the meeting room due to current limitations on public gatherings to prevent the further spread of COVID-19 and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the City of Franklin officials, staff, and citizens. Accommodations have been made to ensure the public is able to participate in the meeting. The public may participate in the following ways: watch the meeting on Franklin TV or the City of Franklin website, watch the live stream through the City of Franklin Facebook or YouTube accounts, call in to the conference meeting at 1-312-626-6799. The meeting ID is 910-5624-7555, and the password is 178459. Email comments were accepted until 5 p.m. yesterday. These email comments have been provided in full to the commission and included in the minutes, but will not be read aloud in their entirety during the meeting. Limited viewing is available in the lobby of City Hall to watch the live video, and face masks are required in City Hall. All right. I'll now consider a motion for the minutes from our previous meeting in July.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, Ms. Peterson motioned and Mr. Orr seconded. Now for the roll call vote. Ms. Allen, I'm assuming you're still absent. Mr. Franks?
Approve.
Mr. Harrison is still absent. Mr. Lindsay?
Aye.
Ms. McLemore is still absent. Mr. Orr?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Ms. Salaji?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. For those who are out in the audience that are listening and want to comment, this is an item when items that are not on tonight's agenda can be discussed. Is there anyone of the citizens that would like to make a comment to the commission at this point about items not on tonight's agenda?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, sir. I wanted to speak on behalf of the Highlands Lad Park HOA.
Okay, if you will,
Good evening.
if you'll state your name and where you live, that'd be great.
And my name is Chad Holmes, and I'm the president of the Lad Park HOA, Franklin, Tennessee, on Avon River Road. I wanted to speak to the Planning Commission tonight. We are a neighborhood of over 1,200 homes in the south part of Franklin along Long Lane and Carruthers Parkway. And I wanted to speak to you tonight about a proposed amendment to Envision Franklin for 25 acres at 106 Long Lane, which is along our main entrance into Lad Park. The City Planning Commission, as far as I understand, is considering an amendment to Envision Franklin for a proposed Long Lane Sports Complex with 7 buildings of over 200,000 square feet. The developer conducted a neighborhood Zoom meeting on August 6th with over 90 people. And at that meeting, the neighborhood was invited to see the concept for the first time. Following that meeting, a poll was sent via email to every registered homeowner via our property management company. And of that poll, 490 people voted. Over 80% voted no to the proposed development and amendment to Envision Franklin for the Long Lane Sports Complex that would change Envision Franklin's land use of single-family residential for that area. So what I'd like to ask you all to consider before voting on this amendment in September is, number one, the HOA board, which represents the residents of Lad Park, is unanimous that we do not feel the amendment is compatible with land use patterns and design concepts of our neighborhood. The conceptual drawings required to be submitted showed an abrupt change to massing, form, and architecture from the single-family residential in the Highlands of Lad Park. And the developer version of recreation is not a proper transition from single-family residential use to the higher regional commerce use across from Long Lane. Second, we do not think the proposed amendment is consistent with Envision Franklin. And then third, we feel the proposed amendment will decrease their quality of life. So lastly, on behalf of the Highlands of Lad Park HOA Board of Directors and over 80% of those polled, we are unanimous in our strong opposition to any changes of Envision Franklin's original plan for this area, which is single-family residential. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else that's on the line? All right, I hear none. Then we'll move on to staff announcements.
The only item I have is just to inform the public and the commissioners that it's very likely that the September Planning Commission will be virtual as well. So it hasn't been confirmed yet, but there is a good chance that it will be. So prepare. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Or is there anyone that wants to place an item on the agenda that's not currently on our agenda? All right, I hear none. Then we'll move on to item number 3, which is consideration of the consent agenda. And at this point, the only thing on consent agenda is item number 8. So unless someone in the commission, staff, or audience wants to pull an item from the consent agenda, we will vote on this. Obviously, one item as it's been considered non-controversial. So I will consider a motion from the commission.
Move for approval. That's Roger.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Franks, thank you. So proper motion and second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Well, in favor. Let's start over. I'm sorry. Back to normal habits. Ms. Allen, I'm assuming you're still absent. Mr. Franks?
Approve.
Mr. Harrison is still absent. Mr. Lindsay?
Aye.
Ms. McLemore is still absent. Mr. Orr?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Ms. Szilagyi?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion passes. All right, I'm going to pass the chair over to Mr. Lindsay, Vice Chair Lindsay, and let him take care of this next item, number 4.
Thank you, Chairman. Item number 4 is consideration of resolution 2020-78, a resolution to adopt an Envision Franklin Plan amendment for the properties located at 1155 Hillsborough Road, known as Brownland Farm, and a portion of Christ Community Church at 1215 Hillsborough Road, map 63, parcels 2.00, 2.01, and 2.02, to change the design concepts from conservation and conservation subdivision to conservation, conservation subdivision, multifamily residential, and neighborhood mixed use. Staff, have we got a staff presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. As the subject property is located at 1155 Hillsborough Road, which is just north of the intersection of Hillsborough Road and Matt Catcher Parkway. It's commonly known as Brownland Farm. And this application does include a small portion of 1215 Hillsborough Road, commonly known as Christ Community Church. The site currently has conservation and conservation subdivision design concepts, and the applicant is requesting to amend the site to have conservation, conservation subdivision, multifamily residential, and the neighborhood mixed-use design concepts. The site is approximately 190 acres and is bound on the western edge of the Harpeth River. The site currently has approximately 160 acres within the floodplain, and the applicant has indicated that they alter the floodplain on the site, reducing it to approximately 104 acres while providing an increased flood storage across the site. Prior to any development, the applicant will need to complete the FEMA processes required and obtain approval in order to formally change the floodplain on the site. Now, please keep in mind that this is not a rezoning request. The Brownland Farm is currently zoned agriculture, and the church is zoned civic institutional. There is no zoning change that has been requested at this point, and no changes to the zoning are involved in this request. However, due to constraints on the property, staff is concerned that the accesses proposed to this site are all on Hillsborough Road. Staff brought up these concerns regarding this matter and the potential need for a traffic signal at the corner of Hillsborough and Monticello Roads. If a signal is required at this location, it would not meet the City of Franklin standards for distance from an existing traffic signal. So overall, staff is concerned about the potential traffic generated from the site flowing exclusively onto Hillsborough Road. So if you remember, this item was originally brought forward at the June 25th Planning Commission meeting, at which the applicant requested to defer the item until today's meeting in order to speak at the July Joint Conceptual Workshop, as well as have opportunity to study the traffic impacts and solutions in more detail. A virtual meeting was held for this project on May 13th, 2020, which was recorded and uploaded to the City of Franklin website. There are a large number of citizens attending the meeting, and they brought up concerns regarding flooding on the site, access and traffic on Hillsborough Road, as well as commercial uses on the site, and the potential park located on the east side of Hillsborough Road, adjacent to the Monticello neighborhood. 24 citizen emails and comments were received related to this item, as well as an online petition, which were provided to the commission with your agenda item in Civic Clerk. Of the 24 emails that we received, 1 was in favor and 23 were opposed to the change in the design concept. Now, prior to the June Planning Commission meeting, 16 comments were received. Of those, 2 were in favor, 4 were neutral, and 10 were opposed to the change in design concepts. And all of these comments generally spoke of concerns about traffic on Hillsborough, flooding of the Harpeth, density of the conceptual design, and school capacity. Additionally, some brought up concerns about what is referred to as Monticello Section 1, which is that park across Hillsborough fronting the Monticello subdivision. However, that is technically not a part of this request, rather potentially a part of the site development following this request were it to be approved. The emails in their entirety are published with the online agenda and are included in the meeting's minutes. So due to the review time needed for the additional information that the applicant did provide, staff is recommending deferral of Resolution 2020-78 to the September 24th Planning Commission meeting. And I do believe that the applicant is requesting to make a small presentation or provide some additional information to the Planning Commission during this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Eric. So this is an announced public hearing for this project. So the normal course of handling a case is to ask if there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak to this item at this point. Is there anyone there on the phone that would like to speak? If you'd like to speak,
Yes,
you'll
I
need
would.
to give me your name
Yes,
and
I would
your
like to
address.
speak.
Okay, thank you.
Do you hear me?
I can hear you. And so give us your name and your address and try to hold your comments to 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Yes, sir, I will. This is Ginger Sterling, 2227 Osborne Road. I am here today representing Keep Williamson County Livable. The Keep Williamson County Livable team was asked by the neighboring communities of Brownland Farm to create a petition. This is the petition you've referred to for citizens opposed to rezoning the Brownland Farm. An email was sent to you earlier this week, and we provided you with 1,340 signatures and comments obtained in just 1 week's time. We would like to note that some of these signatures are outside of the county, but reflect the regional nature of the Brownland Farms horse show business over the past years. I would also like to announce that as of 6:30, we had an amazing number of 1,555. So not only did they provide many signatures in opposition the first week, but it is continuing. I also would like to bring to your attention that the citizens that have signed this petition want to support the city staff's concerns. And we mostly are concerned about the dramatic change to the Harpeth River's existing floodplain in this area. We recognize and we recommend the following. Number one, turn down the developer's proposal to rezone and change the city land use plan for a more dense neighborhood. Please turn that down. Number two, we are recommending that any proposed plan for this area of the Harpeth not come before the Planning Commission until the required state and national FEMA review and approval process has been completed. Number three, we recommend that the city staff redo the city's land use plan, as some aldermen have already suggested, for this last rural area of the city. The current design concept and envision Franklin for Brownland Farm and the entire northwest rural area of Franklin is the conservation subdivision. However, we are concerned that the conservation subdivision concept will not enable the city to meet its guiding principles. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the phone who would like to speak to this item?
Yes, if possible. This is Dory Bowles from the Harpeth Conservancy.
Okay, go ahead, Dory.
Hey, hello. So this is Dory Bowles. I'm the CEO of the Harpeth Conservancy, and I will just touch on a couple of the points I provided in some of our comprehensive comments that we submitted earlier to the staff. Really appreciate the staff's time in helping to understand how the various review processes happen with floodplain alterations. Our big concern and the reason why we've looked carefully at this and are still interested, because I'm sure it's going to evolve, is that the river in this area has several floodways. So during the May 2010 flood, everybody who lived in the area certainly experienced how there was basically an island and there was the Hillsborough Road was flooded. So I think we've got some interesting challenges here, environmental constraints that the staff highlights in their reports. There are a couple things I want to touch on about specifics, but the most important thing is that this particular area, because it's surrounded by floodway, is very different from water's edge. And so it just requires a lot of scrutiny and the input from the experts that FEMA and the state will use in reviewing the computer models. So that will be important. And that's why one of the things our organization would like to recommend is that get those done first. It takes a couple of months before reviewing development plans on this area. It's just a highly constrained location. And obviously there's a lot of extensive flooding downriver. What I'd like to do is just highlight for a few minutes, because a lot of the pictures and videos provided to the Planning Commission, the city staff were interested in getting any kind of video or photographs of the level of flooding along Hillsborough Road, and basically trying to corroborate what's already shown on the FEMA maps that were updated in 2014 after the 2010 flood. And there seem to be some discrepancies, and possibly the applicant and developer, Kevin will be able to clarify them, but the maps that are in the proposal don't seem to identify the floodway and floodplain going over Hillsborough Road in Monticello, Poteet Place. And that's exactly where a lot of the flooding occurred that causes the inundation. And of course, any kind of change to this area and any kind of development will need to comply with the city's requirements for roads not to have more than 3 inches halfway across the width. So I think that's something that we'll all want to look at and make sure if there's a massive residential development in this area, that the safety factors and issues from flooding are taken care of. If there's one or two other possible points, the city's Envision Franklin currently, floodplains are one of the environmentally sensitive features that has a conservation design concept. The proposed changes are a 25% reduction in the floodplain, which is a lot, when the conservation design concept recommends little development as possible in preserving floodplains because they have a direct public safety purpose, and disruption in the concept area. This area should be limited. I think that I think I've emphasized enough the concerns about flooding on Hillsborough Road and the need to address them. I think the last thing I want to touch on is the nature, and I know Roger, because of his expertise, is familiar with FEMA maps and FEMA floodplain models. They don't predict the future, and they're based on probabilities. So one of the things that's come out recently in July is the flood factor. It's a type of computer modeling effort done out of Chicago that can then be added on to the FEMA work in order to help predict climate change type of dynamics in this area that's high intensity rain events. And that's what we all experienced in May 2010 with 2 very intense rain events back to back. So I wanted to just wrap up with saying that a floodplain resiliency plan would be probably the kind of thing we'd like to help work with the city on, because this particular area and then downriver, as this rural area develops, we'll want to figure out how to reduce the existing homes and residences in the 100-year floodplain and resolve the areas that are flooded right now. There's just too many things out there, high risk, for a high density proposal at this time. And thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Dory. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this item? Anyone from the public? Are there any calls to the recorders, to the City Hall, or?
That is all the comment we seem to have.
Okay, all right, good. So I'd like to turn the meeting over then to the applicant, the representative of the applicant. Greg?
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Greg Gamble, and I'm joined tonight by Kevin Estes, and I'd like to share my screen, if I may. We have a very brief presentation. Would like to say that we have been working with the City of Franklin engineering staff and the third-party traffic engineer over the past couple of months on our traffic evaluation. It has been filed with the engineering department. It has been reviewed. The third-party traffic engineer and the City of Franklin engineers have provided us response comments. We plan to respond to those comments, but we are requesting deferral tonight so that we have time to resubmit that traffic study. The traffic study is not typically provided with an Envision Franklin amendment. However, we feel that there are too many unanswered questions without it, and need to make sure that we have clarity on what offsite road improvements may be required as a part of the proposed plan. You're obviously not voting on the plan, you're voting on the Envision Franklin Plan Amendment, but we do request deferral tonight to give ample opportunity to all planning commissioners to review the traffic analysis. Since the joint conceptual workshop, we have made modifications to our development plan, our Envision Franklin Plan Amendment package, and I'd like to walk you through a couple of those items. This is Hillsborough Road running north-south, and you can see along Hillsborough Road that there is currently a mix of land uses along this corridor. The blues that you're seeing here are those civic uses that include the high school, include the Williamson County Animal Care, includes a church, the church here, Fieldstone ball fields. The red is commercial areas. So those are regional commercial areas, include restaurants, grocery stores, the landscape facility across the street. But the orange that you're seeing here includes multifamily. The purple includes mixed use. So along Hillsborough Road, there is a mixture of single family detached homes with localized commercial mixed use areas and multifamily. Our previous plan showed a total of 27.9 acres of multifamily and 7.1 acres of mixed use. Following the joint conceptual workshop, we have reduced those two areas significantly. The area of multifamily is now 16.1 acres and 6.1 acres of the mixed use area. Within the multifamily, we have an area set aside for senior living or assisted living facility. It's currently within the area that is owned by Christ Community Church and is zoned civic institutional. So this use here is allowable within the civic institutional's base zone that is in the property today. The additional multifamily area that we're referring to is here in orange, just below our main entrance road, and would consist of predominantly for sale condominium homes with a few for rent multifamily apartments. We had our sixth neighborhood meeting last night and had great involvement, great engagement, discussed the mixed use buildings that are shown here. Several neighbors asked us to increase the distance off of Hillsborough Road to provide more landscape, and have given us comments that they like the mixed use component to allow for maybe a restaurant, coffee shop, some live work offices or office lofts that would be in close proximity to their neighborhood. We are also addressing the scale of the buildings on Hillsborough Road in our future plan. Again, I understand you're not approving the plan tonight, but there is relevance toward the Envision Franklin Plan Amendment and reducing these buildings to 2-story in scale. In our SketchUp model, you can see here the relationship in proportion to the existing church that is adjacent to. So these would be the mixed use buildings here in the front along Hillsborough Road. So why are we asking for mixed use and multifamily? And a lot of this goes toward some of the language within Envision Franklin that talks about creating a vibrant neighborhood. We are very excited about the opportunity to bring a mix of housing types. The condominium and townhomes would be maintenance-free living. And it really caters to a much wider, larger group within the city of Franklin and meets more housing needs. We are committed to at least 10% of the homes within all the housing types to be affordable housing, and we'll be working with the Williamson County Community Housing Partnership as well as the Franklin Housing Authority to create commitments that are associated with the deeds of these properties that would keep the affordable housing in perpetuity. There were several questions that have come up regarding the floodplain. There is a floodway that crosses across the site in this location. It's called the West Harpeth Split. I've turned this 90 degrees And instead of Hillsborough Road running north-south, it now runs left to right. The reason that this is called the East Harpeth Split is because it's on the east side of Hillsborough Road, and this one's on the west side of Hillsborough Road. There is a high point here where the water naturally drains in two different directions. During a flood event, that floodway crosses across this part of the property, but it is not a floodway that occurs continuously as the Harpeth River flows. So this only would occur during a high water event. What we're proposing to do is to redistribute the volume of the floodway. It does decrease the square foot area of the floodplain, but it does not decrease the volume of the floodplain. We have a total of 320,000 cubic yards of floodplain that we are removing, and we are adding back in 640,000 cubic yards. So we're doubling the storage capacity of the floodplain on this property. To give you some real effect, this is to the south. Right here is where Mac Hatcher and Hillsborough Road intersect. The school, Franklin High School, is just to the south of us here. This is today's 100-year floodplain. After the creation of the 2-to-1 floodplain storage, you can see the real reduction in the effects on the adjacent properties. Several homes are currently in the floodplain, and that floodplain would be removed from their property. The development plan, if we move forward with the development plan, we have the ability to file the CLOMAR prior to or concurrently with the development plan for FEMA's review. The CLOMAR is typically not submitted until site plan. And so when we go to site plan, there are some grading items that are subject to change and may require us to resubmit to FEMA. But for a comfort level that the community has asked for, we would be willing to do that, and we'll continue to discuss this with the City of Franklin Engineering Department. This is a comparison between Brownland Farms and Water's Edge. Water's Edge is a total of 195 acres in size. Brownland Farms is 227 acres. The development area created at Water's Edge is 92.1 acres in size, and the development area created at Brownland Farms is 92.2 acres. The floodplain volume filled at Water's Edge is 290,000 cubic yards. There were a total of 304,000 cubic yards created at Water's Edge. And this was prior to the city's requirement of a 1.5 to 1 creation ratio when you're filling in floodplain area. At Brownland Farms, we have the ability to double the amount of floodplain that's created, the floodplain volume, truly affecting those properties that are upstream and downstream. With the creation of the floodplain area at Brownland Farms, all single-family homes will be at least 3 feet above the floodplain, and no residential lot will have floodplain on it. Kevin, you there?
I am.
You wanted to speak a little bit about the comparison of the hydrology here between the two?
Yes, because I was integral on Water's Edge and I'm integral on Brownland. I want to talk the differences of the floodplain. Floodplain becomes very emotional and very hard to speak about, so I want to speak as plain as possible, but as technical as possible. At Water's Edge, we had 2 basins, a northern and southern, much like Brownland, and we had the same exact hydrology. We had Carruthers Crossing. We actually had the bridge being built when we brought Water's Edge through, and the river comes around the south, wraps around the whole property, and comes and runs up along Carruthers and then bends back almost exactly what the Harpeth does, crossing under the bridge at Hillsborough, wrapping around the southern end of the property, wrapping around the north, coming up to Hillsborough Road, and then taking a left. At Water's Edge, we experienced quite a bit of what I would call high rock. And so Mr. Lindsay discussed this last time, and it caused me to do a lot of investigation. And he's talking about the sponge of the floodplain, which is a very legitimate area. So at Water's Edge, what we had was a knob, and it fell quickly into the floodplain. And so we did a lot of fill in the floodplain that was 8 to 10 foot thick and sometimes 12 foot thick. And when we dug, we had in the two basins, we had two draws that came out that kind of drained those basins. So you had the riverbank, and then from the riverbank, it dropped down into the draws in these basins and then drained through a draw back into the river. When we excavated those basins, we at about 8 feet, we were down to rock. And at Water's Edge, there was a lot of blasting in the floodplain to remove rock to create alternate storage. We hired geos to do a bunch of test pits at Brownland, and then I also spoke in long detail with Jerome Cox at Utah Construction. Utah is building the bridge and Mac Hatcher Parkway for the state of Tennessee. We have the same thing. We have a northern basin and we have a southern basin. The southern basin is cut off by the new Mac Hatcher Bridge. And when I was meeting Jerome, he drove me out over the temporary bridge over the Harpeth River. And I noticed as we went over the bridge, we rose up into the southern basin. And so Brownland is really different. Over the years, and remember, the Andertons have owned this farm for 100 years, raising bulls, horses, and all that. They have placed their manure, I'm just going to say it, over the northern basin. There are giant stockpiles of that over there. But the land naturally rises into a hump and then drains back towards the bridge. And I assume this was done in coordination with the city of Franklin, but the bridge is excavating. The land sets at an elevation of around 622 in the southern basin. The bridge is the banks of the Harpeth is set around 616. The Utah Construction is excavating out to 610, 612 into the bank of the Harpeth to create their compensation.
I think we've lost Kevin's connection somehow.
Over the, and I apologize if I lose you. It says my internet connection is unstable. But we are basically just shaving the knob down. We can lower that elevation from 622 down to about 616, which is level with the bank, maintain positive flow, and we still have a sponge that goes from elevation 616 down to 598. We have 18 feet of natural sponge that would remain here, which is incredible. We don't have that in most floodplains to begin with. The other thing I want to say is, because we try to be as responsible when dealing with floodplains as we can, and floodplains are, I think it's ill to advise floodplains as areas because floodplains are volumes. But the area of the floodplain that we are looking to manipulate or elevate out of the floodplain, everything you see in the yellow totals 41 acres within the development area. It is less than 2 feet deep. Then what you see in blue does not go above 6 feet. And we had a great meeting with Monticello neighborhood last night. It was attended by dozens of people, and that was our 6th meeting. And I try to wisen as I age. And what I ask them is, what is it y'all want? What is it that I can do to make my development be an asset to this neighborhood? A couple of them have talked about density, but really they focused on wanting the traffic to make sure that they're going to be protected. And I totally understand that. And we don't want to speak traffic until the city has finished its review. And that way we don't contradict anything that our consultant said, and the city's consultant. And then what we talked about is this too much? But they've also, and I appreciate it, complimented Greg and my team for being transparent and working with them over this time. So in the end, if we have to come in and reduce some of this floodplain to where we're much more environmentally sensitive, and I believe we're already being environmentally sensitive here, we're gonna listen. We're not trying to do something that is not gonna win the support of the neighborhood across the street and the church. We have neighbors here. We are working very hand in hand with them. But tonight, what we're talking about is a land plan amendment for, Greg, what's the exact area that we're asking to change here? It's 22 acres.
Yeah, so it's 9% of the total property to multifamily and the neighborhood mixed use policies.
Not just that, but 12 of these acres we're purchasing from the church, which are already civic institution. And I think that's an important fact here, that a lot of what we're asking for is already out of the floodplain and this land plan and belongs to the Christ Community Church that has already been changed to zoning of civic institution, which could allow things like assisted living. So, but I wanted to speak slightly in the floodplain, and then and Roger and Mike, I know both are engineers. This Harpeth split is the craziest thing I've seen. We have ground elevations of 625.2 in several locations up in this floodway. This floodway cannot exist until it gets to elevation 626. It is only 8/10, and then it flows through the detention pond of the church. In this floodway exists the driveways, the horse show attraction area, the high point of 625.2, and the parking lot of the church, and the detention pond of the church. And this is, when talking to Adrian Ward over at Barge Wagner, there is extremely minute amount of flow that creates this floodway. And I'm gonna stop there because I'm gonna get myself in trouble trying to talk floodway, because I am not the expert, but all that is being presented to the city on September 2nd. So that's really all I had to talk about, was just kind of even though we're moving the same amount of dirt as we did at Water's Edge, these are very different environments that we're dealing with dirt and rock and sponges from each other.
So with that, we're interested in hearing your comments. We have requested deferral tonight to the September Planning Commission, and we'll be able to present to you the traffic study findings the night of the September Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so from the Planning Commission then, we've got a request from the applicant to defer to the September 24th Planning Commission meeting. Do we have a motion to recognize that deferral?
So moved.
Is that Jimmy?
Yes, sir.
Second, Mike.
Okay, so motion by Jimmy to defer to the September meeting, and seconded by Michael Orr. Did Marcia Allen ever join us this evening? Okay, so Marcia's still absent. Jimmy Franks, your vote?
Aye.
Scott is absent. Roger Lindsay votes aye. Alma is still absent. Michael Orr?
Aye.
Ann Peterson?
Aye. However, you know, in our vote, whenever we're showing our vote, it said to adopt the envision. Is that going to be understood that we're?
Yeah, that's a motion to defer. Yeah, I see what you're talking about, Ann. So this is a motion to defer. And Jenny Szilagyi?
Aye.
And Chairman Hathaway is recused on this item. So the vote passes, the motion passes to defer to the September 24th meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Okay, so we got okay. All right. We're good then. I'll return control of the meeting to Chairman Hathaway.
Thank you, Roger. Great job. Item number 6 is consideration of ordinance 2019-57, an ordinance to rezone 1,520.03 acres from Plan District PD 1.8 / 500,000 and detached residential R1 district to planned PD 2.26.
Need number 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I was in my own zone. Apologize. Item number 5. Berry Farms Reams Fleming Tract PUD Subdivision Development Plan Revision 2, revising the internal street network on 45.17 acres located south of Paytonsville Road and west of Pratt Lane at 1011 Reams Fleming Boulevard. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just an electrical note. We just had a storm pop up here in Nashville and the lights just flickered. So if I cut out, that's why. The purpose of this revision to the Berry Farms Reams Fleming PUD Subdivision Development Plan is to revise the internal street network within the development. The subject property is comprised of 45.17 acres and is located at 1011 Reams Fleming Boulevard. There are no requests to revise the entitlements or change the development boundaries with this proposed revision. So therefore it is just a planning commission level approval, will not go on to the board of mayor and aldermen. The original concept plan for this property was approved in July 2006. A revised development plan incorporating the Ramsey Solutions headquarters campus was approved in March 2015. Staff recommends approval with conditions of the revised development plan for the Berry Farms Reams Fleming Tract PUD subdivision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Be safe out there. All right, is there any citizens who would like to speak on this item? Anybody out there in the audience? All right, hearing none, then we will look to hear from the applicant.
This is Mark Spalding. I'm with Gresham Smith, and we're representing Ramsey on this development plan revision. We agree to the 2 conditions of approval, so we're ready to get started.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Do I have a motion from the commission?
Move for approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Roger.
Roger, thank you, Roger. Michael, motion, Roger seconded. All right, is there any discussion? All right, then we'll do a roll call. Marcia, I'm assuming you're still absent. Jimmy Franks?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison still absent. Mr. Lindsay?
Aye.
Ms. McLemore, I believe, is still absent. Mr. Orr?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Ms. Szilagyi?
Aye.
And Chairman votes aye. Motion passes. Now for item number 6.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Item number 6, consideration of ordinance 2019-55, an ordinance to rezone 1,520.03 acres from planned PD district 1.8 / 500,000 and detached residential R1 district to planned district PD 2.26 / 250,000 for the property located south of Highway 96 and west of Boyd Mill Pike, West Haven PUD subdivision. Staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, this item was deferred from the May agenda, the June agenda, and the July agenda. There have been no changes from the submittal from the July agenda. The residential entitlement request is 3,441 units. That is an increase from the 2,750 units from the previous development plan. A development plan is being submitted concurrently In addition to scaling back the additional residential units originally requested with this revision, the development plan no longer proposes gas pumps. This request does comply with the Envision Franklin area design concepts of mixed residential and neighborhood mixed use, and staff recommends approval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
All right, thank you. So is there anyone in the, any citizens that would like to speak to this item? Anyone in the audience who wants to speak to this item? If you'll state your name and where you live and try to keep your comments to 2 minutes or less, we'd appreciate it. But you're on the line.
This is Norm Dean. I live in.
Go ahead, Norm.
This is Norm Dean. I live in West Haven at 824 Stonewater Boulevard. I've lived in West Haven since 2004, and I fully support Southern Land Company and their proposed changes to the concept plan, including their plans for the Jewel property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next caller, anyone else?
Mr. Hathaway?
Yes.
My name is PJ Littleton. I live at 219 Pearlfield in Franklin. Over the past 25 years, Southern Land Company has developed some of Franklin's marquee neighborhoods and commercial retail locations, including Carenbridge and the Enclave and the McEwen Town Center and the outside oasis of Cool Springs, and Windstone just outside of our northern border from the prestigious Laurelbrook community. And over the past 19 years, anchoring the West Gateway into our city, the Sterling traditional neighborhood development of West Haven. I've lived and worked in West Haven for all of those 19 years and have witnessed the commitment, diligence, and dogged perseverance Southern Land Company has put forth in the face of a lot of things that happened to our in that time frame to deliver unprecedented development with a passion for excellence that's been heralded and repeated from New York to Pennsylvania to Virginia to South Carolina to Texas to Colorado and soon to California. There's simply no other development company that I think is more talented and more qualified to complete the vision for West Haven's concept plan and for the proposed Jewel property in order to ensure a seamless and cohesive conclusion to our Jewel we call West Haven. Thank you.
Thank you, PJ. Any other comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Angela Crutcher, and I'm at 1906 Columbia Avenue. I just wanted to call in and say that I fully support Southern Land Company and their proposed changes to the concept plan, as well as their plans for the Jewel property.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Anybody else on the line?
Yes, hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, this is Pam Fleet, and I live at 1979 Championship Boulevard in West Haven. And I appreciate the earlier comments very much and agree with them. I would just like to add that I think this is also the perfect complement to the Morning Point assisted living and memory care facility across the street from the Jewel property. Not only that, but it is also the perfect complement to our West Haven neighborhood that we are currently living in. I can speak for several of my neighbors to say that we are very much in favor of this going forward.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Anybody else on the line? All right, then we will move on. Is there anyone representing the applicant that would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Tim Downey. I'm the developer of West Haven. All those years ago, 20-something years ago, I started West Haven and worked with your predecessors on getting it approved. I haven't been coming to the meetings all the last few years because, but after the last one, I really felt compelled to at least let you know from my standpoint. I'm very, very proud of West Haven. We develop projects all around the country. This is our favorite. We're the most passionate about it. I drive through there every weekend and marvel at how good it turned out. The people that live there have made it a wonderful place to live. All the people that worked on it and the planners to the landscapers, it's turned out in every bit of what I planned and dreamed it would be 20 years ago. And I just wanted to say that because I know the last meeting there was some things said that I don't necessarily agree with. And I want you to know, I don't know of any promise we have not fulfilled over those years. I think we've done everything we said, and I think West Haven has turned out to be one of the finest communities in the country. I know this is in two parts tonight. Ben Crenshaw is going to take you through some of the things the more technical things. We'll keep it short because I know you listened just a few months ago to a longer presentation. In closing, I just wanted to make sure I made it simple what we were asking for. We are reducing the amount of commercial on the part of West Haven we own, the part that has always been the development, by 250,000 square feet. You know, when I started West Haven all those years ago, there was no Amazon, there was no buying things on the internet, and the retail world has changed tremendously. We're asking to reduce the part of West Haven that we've always owned by 250,000 square feet of commercial and add throughout the development 275 homes in lieu of that, which will produce significantly less traffic. So on the part of West Haven we already own, I just want to make sure it's clear, that is all we're asking for. Now the Jewel property, which we don't own, and someday somebody's going to develop into something that's already zoned and set up for residential. We are asking to develop an independent living facility and seniors 55 and up housing, approximately 416 units. Of course, because of that nature of that housing and the restrictions, they produce way less traffic and certainly don't have children in schools very often. But I just want you to know that there's probably, I'm not exactly sure the number, and we may have sent it to you, but there's probably close to 1,000 West Haven residents who have expressed an interest in this concept and this property. Many of them live there now. Many of them moved there 20 years ago when they were 50 or 55, and now they're 75. And they're looking for they want to stay in West Haven, and they're looking for this option. And that's clearly what we're asking for on that property. So I just didn't want it to get mixed up or confused. I wanted to make sure it was clear what we were asking for. That being said, I'll ask Ben to quickly go through a presentation just so you'll know the technical issues behind it. And then I know we'll be debating both agenda items tonight. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm Ben Crenshaw with Southern Land Company. First, thank you for giving us a little bit of a scare by jumping ahead of the previous item on the agenda. But two, I would like to, since we do have two items on the agenda, I would like to combine the time for presentation. We'll keep it short, but I just didn't want to overrun our time on this item, if that's all right with you.
That's fine.
Okay. We're going to go back a little bit in history, and then we're going to come back to the present. we 20 years ago, Tim and the team, I wasn't on board yet, but came shortly after. Tim and the team really went out on a quest to build something extraordinary here in Williamson County. And so we were looking at the multiple different communities of how to pull the best of the past and really adapt it to our current needs. A place that was at home in Williamson County, at home in Franklin, and really at home on the piece of land that we occupy today. Some of our fun side trips were Pinehurst, North Carolina, looking at the really beautiful walkable downtown, Savannah, Georgia, looking at those neighborhood squares that are perfectly placed throughout downtown Savannah, and Charleston with its beautiful streetscapes and those beautiful side courtyards. So we learned a lot from those trips, and we really boiled it down to three major design criteria that we wanted to follow back then 20 years ago, all the way through toward the last house and road in West Haven. Those are that it's a series of interconnected neighborhoods. West Haven is a large piece of property, and in order to make it feel comfortable and really understandable, we focused on interconnected neighborhoods. We wanted it to be a walkable and bikeable community. I don't know if bikeable is a word, but you understand what I mean. And then open spaces and amenities, they're central to the design of the community. So from West Haven being a series of interconnected neighborhoods, the red circle is Founders Square. That's where the fountain is here on the left. And then from that point on, we have 7 more neighborhood squares in those outlined circles that really define the neighborhoods that are within those centers. And those are 5-minute walking circles. And those go from a commercial neighborhood to a very informal kind of square that we call Chess Park. A walkable and bikeable community, that's put together of many components. One is a really kind of a modified grid of streets where it keeps the blocks short and it allows people those plenty of places to cross the walk. But also, it's the detail in the walk. It only matters if you can walk, that's one thing. But if you want to walk between one place and the other, that's what really matters. And then also a place for kids to ride their bikes, kids to learn how to ride their bikes and feel free to move about the community. And then a community of open space and amenities. We have 49% open space. We have the red stars are existing amenities, and the yellow star here is our pool that's actually under construction right now. And those are well placed and scattered throughout the community to make it convenient for our residents. And then all of that would be for naught if we weren't really participating in making this a community of connection, allowing the events to occur, the activities that we sponsor to really make this place a community for people. And so we've applied all of those 3 main design concepts to what you're going to look at tonight. Initiative 1 is on the west side, as Tim said. This is the property that we own, is on the west side of Mack Hatcher. To orient you here, you'll see this map several times. This is Highway 96 and this is Mack Hatcher Boulevard. What we call Initiative 1, I believe you got the letter that we had sent to our residents many months ago, identifying this as Initiative 1 and Initiative 2. Initiative 1 is on the west side of Mack Hatcher. And what you see here is the yellow tinted lots are existing and the blue tinted lots are the proposed redesigned areas. So our current, as Tim said, our current entitlements are that we have 500,000 square feet of commercial and 2,750 residential units. What we are proposing to do is remove 250,000 square feet of commercial and add 275 residential units. In the summary of what is different between today and what we proposed to you in May, as Tim said, we've reduced the west residential proposal, we've reduced it by 75 units. And as Amy said, we've reduced the gas pumps from the commercial area on Townsend Boulevard. Oh, sorry, Tim corrected, we have removed the gas pumps from the proposal. So the reason we're proposing these areas to be redesigned is that we're adjusting the housing sizes and types to match the existing West Haven neighborhood. It is basically the same mix of lot sizes and types that we have in the yellow that's applied to the blue. We focus heavily on integrating the plan into the existing plan And again, we're taking that consistent design approach from where we started and applying that to these areas. These are areas of interconnected neighborhoods. You can see we've built these neighborhoods around a central green here, central green here. So we have 4 new neighborhood squares. We want to make it a walkable community with modified grid layout. As you can see, the blocks are basically the same lengths. Extending our multi-use path as per our original concept plan, and then making connections to the nature trail system. We currently have about 3 miles of multi-use path and about 8 miles of nature trail that we are very intent on making those connections into the proposed areas of neighborhood. And then open space is an amenity. We're still going to be at 49% open space. We're proposing to do 2 more pools, which one is under construction, one is in the area over here. We are proposing 3 more playgrounds, 2 in more remote parts of the neighborhood, and 1 that is in the area here, where if you remember, there was an 11-acre dedication to the city of Franklin for parks. And in our negotiations with the city, we've all felt it in our best interest for that to be taken back into the West Haven property, maintained by the HOA. And we are proposing dog park, playground, and practice fields in this area. And that is, again, it's between Boyd Mill and Highway 96. So that's initiative 1, and that's on the west side. And we really want you to understand there's 2 separate initiatives, and this is the east side of Mac Hatcher. And again, as we've seen West Haven grow, and we get to understand who lives in West Haven and sort of what their needs are. And let me reorient you. You'll see this area zoomed in on the next couple of slides. But just to understand the scale in relation to the rest of West Haven, this is where it sits. We see this as the front door to West Haven. And as Tim said, it's not developed now, but we saw a real opportunity to do 2 things. One is extend West Haven and really make that approach from Boyd Mill, from really the west side of Franklin, really consistent along the West Haven property. But also, we see a real need for aging in place. And as Tim said, we have many multi-generational families that live in West Haven that now need to take that next step, that aren't ready for assisted living, but are ready for something that is going to take some maintenance out of their lives and allow them more freedom. So on this side, on the east side of West Haven, or east side of Mac Hatcher, I'm sorry, like Tim said, we are proposing 0 commercial square footage and 416 residential units. Again, providing that multi-generational living opportunity at West Haven is really the main focus of this area. It will all be age restricted and maintenance-free housing with the independent living facility that we're thinking is somewhere in the 130 to 150 unit range with a good number of exclusive amenities suited to the residents' needs. There will be townhomes, condos, and villas on this site to really provide a diversity in housing. But again, applying those same design criteria, this is an interconnected neighborhood with a central green that really everything is focused on, but then also allowing the connections to West Haven along Highway 96 and then along Townsend Boulevard. Multi-use path connections as well as street connections. It's going to be as walkable as the rest of West Haven, and we're paying a lot of attention of how to get across Townsend. And there might be some future accommodations needed, but as of now, Townsend Boulevard is the end of Mac Hatcher, and there will be a 3-way stop here. There will be variable sized houses and well-scaled houses to really provide that consistent streetscape. And we'll be applying the same design guidelines as West Haven has evolved throughout. And then open spaces and amenities. This side is 39% open space, including the setback that we are maintaining consistency from the rest of West Haven here, and really providing a nice transition as we get towards Boyd Mill. And then with age-appropriate amenities. One main amenity will be in the independent living facility, but then also exterior amenities here. So this area will be well served by its own amenities without using the amenities across the street. An image of the Carolina Hotel in Pinehurst. This is some of the inspiration that we like for that independent living facility. Really well scaled, fits well with our design theme at West Haven. A large focus on porches, very approachable, kind of comfortable building. I want to touch on circulation and transportation. Again, we've designed West Haven to be a modified grid that disperses the traffic and not concentrates that circulation. And it provides great walkability, but it also provides multiple routes through and out and in through the community. That way we're not concentrating the traffic in front of any person's house or on one particular street. I think we've been very intentional about where we're proposing to add residential units. 74% of that increase is directly adjacent to arterial roads. So 74% of any increase in circulation will be basically downstream of the current West Haven residents. And the West Haven traffic study confirms a 23% reduction in trips generated from our current entitlements. And that's unusual, but with the reduction in commercial and the increase in residential, we are still at a 23% reduction in trips. And just for everybody's, this is a different view of Mac Hatcher. This is looking opposite from the way you're normally looking. This is looking from the north to the south. And this is actually about 5 or 6 weeks ago, just showing the progress of Mac Hatcher. It's scheduled for completion in 2021. We will not be proposing to make any connections or extensions of our road until Mac Hatcher is built. We've spent the time since May, since our first meeting in community outreach. We've had our public notice meeting, which was well attended by over 300 people back in December or January, if I remember. Over 20 resident and neighborhood meetings since then, and numerous, countless individual meetings. And something that we heard is that we needed to provide more communication with our neighbors. And so we've reestablished our resident advisory committee, and we're committed to multi-platform communication with our residents. And so that's it for us on the presentation. We set out 20 years ago to build something extraordinary here. And I think we've gotten a good head start of this last 20 years. We want to really apply those same design criteria, the same design guidelines, the same feel, quality expectation of West Haven to these areas that are up for one on redesign on the initiative #1 area, and also in our new the Jewel property, and providing a completely new offering that is not there in West Haven today. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to your questions.
All right, thank you, Ben. So just a reminder, this is a vote on rezoning this property. So I will entertain a motion from the commission.
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. Is there a second?
Second, Mike.
Michael, okay. All right, proper motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, then let's do a roll call vote. Marcia Allen, I'm assuming, is still absent. Jimmy Franks?
Aye.
Scott Harrison still absent. Mr. Lindsay?
Aye.
Ms. McLemore still absent. Michael Orr?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Ms. Szilagyi? Chair votes aye, motion passes. Now we'll move to item number 7, which is consideration resolution 2019-130, a resolution approving a revised development plan for West Haven PUD subdivision for the property located south of Highway 96 West and west of Boyd Mill Pike. Staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The proposed development plan is consistent with the goals and guidelines of Envision Franklin. This proposal changes commercial entitlements to from 500,000 square feet to 250,000 square feet, as the gentleman just explained. 178,900 square feet currently exists, leaving 71,000 for future commercial development. The residential unit count reflects a reduction from the original request of 3,516 units down to 3,441 units. This is an increase from the current entitlements of 2,750 units. An additional 7 acres is being added to the project. This is known as the Jewel property. In addition to scaling back on the additional residential units requested with this revision, again, the development plan no longer proposes gas pumps, and it also reduces the commercial entitlements. West Haven Development Plan Revision 4 was approved administratively in December of 2019. Staff does have a couple project considerations. West Haven is proposing flexibility in their unit types of 20%. Therefore, the actual number of each unit type could vary by 20% without returning to Planning Commissioner BOMA for approval. But the overall total count of the residential units will not increase. For example, the current plan shows 150 townhomes with a variation of 20%. That could add an additional 30 townhomes. So the actual total number of townhomes could be 180. The plan shown in the submitted documents also does not show all of the entitlements asked for by the applicant. Their entitlement request is a maximum, but the full build out is not portrayed on their plans. Staff does recommend approval with conditions to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone online that would like to speak to this particular item? I don't hear anybody. Anybody on the line? Okay, then we will move on to if the applicant would like to present anything else. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ben Crenshaw again. The only thing I'd like to point out is that I hope you were able to, all the commissioners, hope you were able to look at your inboxes this week. I saw that as part of the staff report, there were significant a number of emails, both in support, but also that had some questions and concerns, and including a petition of 127 names that were in full support of the proposals. So I know that wasn't mentioned in the staff report. I just wanted to make note of that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, so we have a proper motion made by Jimmy and seconded by Jenny. Jimmy and Jenny, that's perfect. Perfect motion. So I'll entertain any discussion. All right, I see none, then we'll go to the roll call. Ms. Allen, I'm assuming is still absent. Mr. Franks?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison is still absent. Mr. Lindsay?
Aye.
Ms. McLemore is still absent. Mr. Orr?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Ms. Szilagyi?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
All right, if I have my numbers right this time, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, Michael, I'm going to give you that one. I'm going to give Jimmy the second. And I want to ask if Marcia has arrived yet at the very end. It appears not. Then we will ask Mr. Franks. Are you good for adjourning?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Harrison
Thank you,
still
staff.
absent. Miss Lindsay? Miss Lindsay. Mr. Lindsay?
Yes, aye.
Okay, Miss McLemore still absent. Mr. Orr?
Aye.
Miss Peterson?
Aye.
Ms. Szilagyi? Chair votes aye. We are adjourned. Thanks everybody so much. Have a good evening.